kiss the boer, kiss the farmer. Except you know the words that we used. These were the words of Julius Malema at the FNB rally on the weekend. Well, the DA is apparently going to take the EFF to court over it. And in typical fashion, Malema says, "You can go to hell!"
So here's the issue with the EFF. Right. So we saw the FNB rally. We saw the fact that there were 90,000 people in the stadium. We saw him sing that song. To me, none of these things are actually characteristics of strength whatsoever. This is just cheap politicking at its finest. And everyone seems to have fallen into the trap. No one cared about the EFF rally at FNB Stadium until he sang that particular song, which makes me believe that he did it on purpose. And now he's going to be in the news for the next 2 weeks, and all the usual suspects are going to take court action against him, which just extends his popularity and free marketing for Julius Malema himself. The EFF is a cult to the man himself. He knows how to do that very well, but as a political party, that is its most fundamental weakness.
I'd agree. If you look at the entire stunt, lots of people say, "Oh, well, this just shows you he has flagrant disregard for the rights of minorities in the country." Mate, he didn't even think about minorities. You know what he thought about? The fact that no newspaper were covering the damn event. He wasn't anyway until he sang the damn song. Then there were pictures, and then there was that same speech and that little chant that he was singing going round and round and round on Twitter. Then people were like, "Oh, did they actually have an event?" All of a sudden, he became a rock star. At the end of the day, that's what he wanted, mate. Problem is, Ramon, these court cases are going to go on forever and ever and ever and ever. We know the drill, mate. We've been there, we've done that, we've seen it. DA says it's going to the Human Rights Commission, it's going to the UN, it's going to God. No one cares, mate. Tell you who does care. The EFF. Because as long as they keep having this in the media, the EFF remain in the lights of everybody. We all are reminded they exist. They're a thing. They supposedly have some power, even if that power is imagined. And unfortunately, Ramon, the power is imagined because the EFF isn't as strong as it once was.
A broad overview of where the EFF actually is. Right, for now, their support base is between 6 and 8% based on the polling data that we have seen. The ANC Veterans League, which is a sort of movement within the ANC, are very angry about working with the EFF. In fact, Stuki Zikalala, the veterans chairman, came out to say this.
If it happens, we can't get into a coalition with a party that does not believe in our constitutional democracy. We does not even believe in the rule of law in this country. We cannot get into that coalition because where's our pride? Where's our pride as African National Congress, as a South African nation? We cannot do that. People did not vote for us to go into a coalition with parties that do not respect our constitutional democracy and that do not believe in the rule of law.
And as you can see, Byron, the ANC, they have immense faults, believe me. But it's weird that very prominent members of the ANC are not happy to work with the EFF because the EFF is undemocratic and don't follow the rule of law and don't believe in constitutional democracy. Are we members of the EFF? Because we don't believe in those things either.
No, we must be. But if you really think about it, and, again, I know I'm going to get slack for this. People are going to be shouting up and down in the comments. Where the ANC is actually told not to do something, it generally kind of backs down and doesn't do it. Where the EFF are told not to do something, they just go, let's do it again. I mean, they're routinely told, don't invade land. Tomorrow morning, they'll be out there invading land. They're told, don't sing that song. Just go sing the song again, man. So, as much as I hate to say it, ANC Veterans League's kind of correct. These guys don't give a damn about the rule of law. But therein lies the problem. If you're a political party and you need to side with these guys, it's just not the kind of guys you want to jump into any form of arrangement with. If they don't follow the rule of law, they're not going to follow the arrangement that you have with them, are they?
The 10 years of EFF being in the political scene in South Africa, what are the results? Some burnt click stores, the coarsening of the social discourse, bodyguards in parliament, VBS bank collapsing due to theft. Okay, those things are sort of important, but in terms of making South Africa flourish in any meaningful way, there's zero chance of that happening with the EFF anywhere in power. So I truly believe that the influence of the EFF is so overblown that it's almost a mirage now. It's almost as if the way we perceive them is much greater than what they actually are. And I think the rally, because it relied on such cheap political tricks, was more of a cry for help rather than a party that is very confident about what it can do.
I think you're correct. And I think the major problem that we have is that the EFF needs constant limelight to show it as being the vanguard of the masses, right? Can't have the limelight all the time, mate, unless you come out with outrageous stunts every 2 minutes. And we have seen those. Clicks, this game, every other company on the planet, every time there's even the sniff of racism, EFF is there. So a lot of it is self-imagined. But whether or not it was actual or real, it doesn't make a difference, mate. What really makes a difference is whether or not they were in the news. And the question you should be asking is, did they make the news and how long did they make it for? The answer is usually yes, and for some time. So if you look at it, with all that being said, it's unsurprising that the EFF actually had this moment at the rally. They needed this moment. They needed people to see them. I mean, what were they going to say? Oh, guys, you remember that school we promised to build, and if we didn't build it, you should never vote for us. Oh, we built it. Because they didn't. They haven't built it yet. So what exactly are they going to highlight as their achievements over the last 10 years? Because I can't think of any.
Fundamentally, the biggest problem of the EFF is like it's a cult dedicated to Julius Malema. He sings the songs, he's raised at the platform at the stadium, he's the guy in charge, and anyone who crosses him gets taken out in some way or other. There's no succession plan for Malema whatsoever. If he dies in a car accident tomorrow, EFF's done, mate. Like completely and utterly done. And the more they rely on cheap political tricks or publicity stunts like this, the more I'm inclined to believe that it is fundamentally a grift for the leadership of the EFF and without any sort of intention of actually ruling this country and implementing anything.
No, I hate to say it, but I absolutely agree with you for all the reasons that you state. At the end of the day, we've seen in by-elections, EFF isn't actually getting any real support up and down the country. It's losing support left, right, and centre. It needs more of these cheap tactics in order to remain in the psyche of the South African citizen. So that being said, I wouldn't expect less of this. I'd expect more of it. But where you see more of it, you shouldn't think, oh, wow, this symbolizes power. Quite the reverse. This symbolizes a party trying to hold on to power, where power cannot be found anymore.